I'd love to switch gears and talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, software and sales enablement software.
Oh
And so,
boy.
and maybe even do my own product discovery in this part of the conversation. I'm curious, like, if you had like a small budget and it's just like, what are the core sales enablement softwares that you need to buy? You mentioned a few in this conversation: content management, conversational intelligence, learning management. Are those like the big three that you need to purchase as part of building your sales tech stack, or are there others? And yeah, how do you think about kind of the core of the sales team?
I could not do a proactive job without conversational intelligence. So that's like always going to be the first thing I go for. The LMS is probably number two, because that's how I'm going to build scale for my onboarding programs or pre-work or post-work. And although I do think if you were being really scrappy, you could still do like a lightweight LMS for just like libraries in your conversational intelligence tool. CMS is the last one for me. And I'll have to be honest, like I'm at a point where I've bought 3 of them at this stage and I wouldn't buy them again. And I know it's a very controversial thing for me to say as an enablement person who has all of this content that I'm trying to get into the hands of the salespeople at the right time. But I've been yet to find a content management solution that's really solved the problem. Like no seller actually wants to be in another tool. They already have so many. And so like, I just see this big theme in like the enablement space of just like this consolidation of all technology. So it's an interesting trend that I'm seeing and feeling.
And so then where's all the content go? How do sellers find all the stuff product marketing's making? Do you just put it in Google Drive and call it a day, or how do you think about that?
Right now it's in a CMS, but it's a bear to manage because we're such a small team and it's got all the bells and whistles that we don't use. But in the future, we're actually toying with the idea of using our own product to build a content management solution. So that could be an exciting new venture for us as a team. But I think about the amount of content that actually is used during a sales cycle. And, the reality is like all of the slideware that you build for a sales team, like most salespeople use maybe 10 slides during a sales cycle. So do they actually need the 100 slide deck repository? It's just a question that I'm starting to ask more and more.
Yeah. And this is not to plug Doc, but this is how I think about it too, is like, yeah, you had this huge library of stuff that you barely use. And I think one thing we have found with Doc, which has been pretty cool, is like you have this actionable template, right? That you can just use from client to client to client. And it's not, it's a subset of the resources. It's not the ones, like the 1,000 in the backlog. So I don't know. That's how I think about it. One thing that I always ask myself too is like, why does sales need a separate system for all this stuff? Like, why does all the content and even like learning management, like why can't that just go in the company-wide wiki or the company-wide learning management system? Why does sales need its own dedicated system for that? I'm curious if you have an opinion on that.
I mean, I don't, if I'm being honest. Like I'm starting to realize more and more that I don't know if they do. So it's something I'm still trying to figure out, if I'm being honest. It's I haven't seen it really drive more efficiency or effectiveness for the field by having this like big governed thing where like the reps still want to have agency to like change things and make it more personalized to the conversations they're having. So yeah. I don't have a good answer there. I'm sorry.
No, super interesting to hear your perspective on it, even if it's kind of like, I don't know, that's
yeah.
good. Yeah. And I guess, what is sales enablement's role in like buying and purchasing and implementing software? Is it usually RevOps who goes out and buys it, and then you're kind of helping enabling and implementing that process? Are you buying software? Who's kind of doing what within the org in your experience?
It's been different at every single company I've worked at. Like there at Aloglia, it was like very much like I had my sales tech budget. Like I got to pick the LMS, I got to pick the CMS, I got to pick the conversational intelligence tools. At Lattice, it was a big partnership between like our L&D team and picking our LMS. Yeah, I think like honestly, I've actually done a lot of the buying in hindsight. At Sigma, like I've walked into a lot of tech that I'm like trying to evaluate if it's the right technology we keep long term. And so like a lot of it is just like, again, going back into discovery mode. What are the reps like? What do they need? What's slowing them down? And just aligning with RevOps on if we've got the right solution in place for them today.